What's up, everybody? Today we're here to talk about a subject I actually haven't talked in quite a while. And that is something I really love, which is Star Wars. And the reason why I haven't been talking a lot about Star Wars, well, it's because there isn't a lot to talk anymore, after the sequel trilogy. I mean, I was very pleased with The Mandalorian. If you guys were here around my channel, you probably saw all my Mandalorian reaction. I am still happy with The Mandalorian. I think that should be the future of Star Wars going forward. But I do not like the newer films. I was not a fan. I was one of those fans that was very disappointed to the point that Star Wars was just it was just not what it used to be. I felt that what was done with the newer films completely disrespect what George created. And I just could not connect with the newer characters. There are some characters I still liked. I like Kylo Ren, perhaps because he's a real Skywalker. I liked Rey at first, but then there was no hero's journey for her, and she just became this boring character that gets nowhere and knows everything because she just is a woman, I guess. I don't like that kind of stuff, especially when Lucasfilm is always so preachy about diversity and women and female stories, but they don't even know how to actually write and develop them. And I think that was the biggest problem with the whole new trilogy. Also, the biggest problem was the fact that a lot of the fans that were complaining about these films, they were framed as misogynist, as yada, 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 this, and that, because you're not allowed to complain about our films as if they were this perfect entity. So I really did not like that. And that relationship, I think it was a little bit not a smart move from Lucasfilm. You should always listen to your fans. I know there are people out there that really like these films, and it doesn't really bother me that there are people that like or they're fans of the newer films. I'm not one of them, but I was really bothered by the way that Lucasfilm reacted to the fans' criticism, especially Rian Johnson after the Last Jedi. So I'm definitely, if you've been around here, you probably know I'm not a fan of these films, and I watched it only once when it came out, and I don't even want to visit it again. And that's not a good thing for Star Wars fans and fandom in general. However, The Mandalorian seems to be taking it into a different course. I just hope that they don't really try to merge with the newer films, because even J.J. Abrams now is admitting that they did not have a plan. And this is something that was so clear in the films. I don't even know how many videos I made complaining about this, up to the point that I'm done complaining about Star Wars. I just don't even want to talk about it anymore. That's how upset I was. And I've made videos, and so many people on YouTube said they had no plans for these new films. And this is a big mistake when we are dealing with a franchise that has been around for 40 years. You have all these all these fans with expectations, right? We had a story that George gave us that even if you don't like the prequels, the story makes sense. You can connect. Wow, this is how it happened. Everything is part of that story. However, when it comes to the newer films, they bring Palpatine back, and then Anakin Skywalker is not even involved, even though he had already defeated Palpatine. So all his sacrifice was pretty much disregarded because now Rey needs to defeat Palpatine and end the whole thing. And then she just calls herself a Skywalker. I really don't, I cringe every time I even think of these films, And then when I thought, well, at least we'll have one Skywalker alive so they can continue the story or try to redeem them somehow. And then they kill Kylo Ren. I know he wasn't the best character, but he was the last Skywalker, and they killed them all. They kind of wanted to bury everything that belonged to George, even though they bought the franchise and they wanted to bring this forward. So I felt like they disrespected the fans, they disrespected the story, the legacy. They just created a whole mess, and this is just pretty much confirmed by J.J. Abrams himself. We had Daisy Ridley talking about making things up on set, not really having a plan. They didn't really know. And this is what I don't understand, because if you're dealing with a story that started so long ago, right? how could you not really sit down and have an overall arc for how the three films should go? This is just unimaginable to me. And this is all Kathleen Kennedy's fault, you know. Like her or hate her or admire her, I just think that she does have a lot of accomplishments. But she messed up with Star Wars big time because she was probably more concerned about woke stuff and this, yada, yada. Stuff that I just, the public is not really interested, okay? I really love diverse characters and female stories, but I really hate when they bring this diversity that is so forced because they don't even know how to write it. It's just there because, oh, we have our Tolkien character here. This is not really serving either parties, and I really, it irritates me every time I see this stuff on films nowadays, because, or entertainment in general, because that's how it is nowadays. Unfortunately, we can't get rid of it. But let's talk about J.J. Abrams, because that's what I wanted to address here. So I'm going to be reading from Esquire article where he's saying J.J. Abrams admit the obvious. Disney didn't have a real plan when they made the new Star Wars trilogy. Duh. We already knew that. I'm actually happy that J.J. Abrams is actually talking about it. I think that he always knew this. And I think that a lot of people, I mean, I don't hate J.J. Abrams, but I definitely do not trust him anymore, especially now that he's going over DC. It makes me really nervous because I love DC. I love Superman. And I really don't want him anywhere near Superman after what was done with Star Wars. Or perhaps he's really learning from his mistake. But at the same time, I cannot really put the blame fully on J.J. Abrams, because directors, even though they have a lot of control, they don't have full control. Kathleen Kennedy was the one in charge. She should have been the one that demanded this overall arc and story, not just going with the flow. That's not how filmmaking works. And not giving your main character hero's journey just destroyed the character and made her unlikable and boring. You know, we as human, we connect with human stories. That's why Luke Skywalker represents Star Wars way more than Rey. You know, that's why people made such a big deal when Luke Skywalker came back on the Mandalorian season. You know, I was just blown away because, oh, that's Star Wars. That character represented everything we wanted to be with Star Wars. It's not just about gender or all of this. It's just about this human character that struggled so much. And the story is amazing, you know. Imagine when you find out your dad is just this psychopath. And then you have love for him and you try to redeem him. It's just an incredible storytelling. And oops, my phone is falling, but I'm not going to cut it. Let's just continue. But they didn't do anything original with Rey, you know, and I really hate that, because then they blame the fans that didn't like the films. Oh, they don't like women. I mean, come on, just shut up. But J.J. Abrams, kudos to you for admitting that you know it's better to have a plan. But I honestly just think that he's talking about this now because he's no longer under contract. It's been a while, so now he's free to talk about it, even though Rian Johnson is still being obnoxious about The Last Jedi. You know, he doesn't admit that movie went into a direction that shouldn't. It was just did not serve the story. In fact, it just messed it up even more. So let's see what is J.J. Abrams saying. We also have a video that I'm going to react. So let's watch the video first and see what he's saying, and then we check the article. Okay, 2, 3, and bam.
Projects that have been, you know, in most cases, series that have ideas that begin the thing where you feel like you know where it's going to go, and then sometimes it's an actor who comes in, other times it's a relationship that as it's written doesn't quite work, and things that you think are going to just, you know, be so well received, just crash and burn, and other things that you think like, oh, that's a little small moment, that's a one episode character, suddenly become a hugely important part of the story.
Okay, so I kind of see where he's going here, because, you know, I think I've mentioned it many times. I went to film school. I know very much how the film process works. And yes, it is true. Sometimes you come into set and you have a script, but then an actor delivers a line in a certain way that is just changes the whole thing. So small changes like that, I totally understand. And I think that's definitely something that you have to have some sort of flexibility. But the problem with Star Wars was not that it was just that. The problem is that they, despite the small changes, they still should have known the main arc of the characters. They should have known where this starts and where this ends, you know. And the little changes in between, that's totally fine. That's the process of filmmaking. But not having a plan to what is going to happen to these characters, you know, not knowing what to do with Luke Skywalker. You're so afraid to deal with that character because you wrote him off screen. You know, you put him out of the movie because you didn't know what to do with him because he was overshining your precious Rey. That's lazy filmmaking, and that's just not creative. You should it really annoyed me that we did not get to see a reunion of these main characters, and it's just never gonna happen unless they do it in animation form, because we don't have Carrie Fisher anymore. But let's continue.
And I feel like what I've learned as a lesson a few times now, and it's something
Okay,
that
good.
especially in this pandemic year,
I wonder
writers.
I wonder if I was watching a lot of the rant YouTube videos about these Star Wars films.
Listen,
I have quite a few of them.
You have to plan things the best you can, and
Good job.
and you always need to be able to respond to the unexpected, and the unexpected can come in all sorts of forms. And I do think that you know, there's nothing more important than knowing where you're going. And there are projects that I've worked on where we had some ideas, but we hadn't worked through them enough. We had sometimes we had some ideas, but then we weren't allowed to do them the way we wanted to. We had, I mean, I've had all sorts of situations where, you know.
By the way, guys, that's the neighbor's dog barking, and it's funny enough. Every time I sit down to record, he starts barking. I think he wants to make a cameo appearance, but let's continue.
You plan things in a certain way, and you suddenly find yourself doing something that's 180 degrees different, and then sometimes it works really well,
and sometimes just messes it up.
Wow, that really came together. And other times you think, oh my God, I can't believe this is where we are. And sometimes when it's not working out, it's because it's what you planned. And other times when it's not working out, it's because it didn't. It's like you never really know. But having a plan, you know, I have learned in some cases the hard way, is the most, you know, critical thing, because otherwise you don't know what you're setting up. You don't know what you're, you know, what to emphasize, because if you don't know the inevitable of the story, you know, you're just as good as your last, you know, sequence or effect or joke or whatever, but you want to be leading to something inevitable.
So there you have it. So that's what J.J. Abrams said when he was asked about the whole Star Wars situation. I do not put all the blame on J.J. Abrams. I think that Kathleen Kennedy was the one in charge. When you're an executive producer, you pretty much can dictate where their story is going to go. And I think she just didn't care enough or had any sort of love for the franchise to even care about the lore, about what things... I mean, the Force was this mysterious thing that it takes years of training and discipline for you to master. And then suddenly you just have someone that never trained, you know, is better than Yoda. That's an 800-year Jedi, you know. And you have these things that just doesn't make any sense, such as Leia floating in space. It's just like George Lucas have said many times, the Force is not a magical trick, but it just became this babadoom. You know, I was just expecting Harry Potter over there with the one saying some magical spell. It was just a whole mess. But I don't even think I need to get to the article, to be honest, because this video of J.J. Abrams says it all. This article on Esquire that I was going to read is just kind of talking a little bit about Johnson's direction on The Last Jedi, which is why I firmly believe took everything off trail. But the biggest problem is that this ping pong, they're playing like ping pong, you know, one director passing the movie to the other, and that's not a problem as long as you have an overall arc for the actors. But J.J. Abrams started a story, sets things up, and then Rian Johnson came in and kind of just changed everything, it seems like, oh, I don't like his script, so I'm just throw that out and just kill the characters off and just do something completely new. And it was just not and then they brought J.J. Abrams back to try to patch things up, and it was just a disaster with the whole Palpatine. I just can't. It really makes me sad. That's the trilogy I do not have on my collection. I only have the original films. I don't want to think about these films. I have hope for The Mandalorian. Now, especially with Dave Filoni taking a bigger role in the Lucasfilm. Perhaps they are listening to the fans because, you need someone that understands. It's kind of a Star Wars geek to write Star Wars stories, not only someone that likes Star Wars stuff. Because a movie, especially when you're dealing with Star Wars, you already have very passionate fans. And if you don't respect the lore, you can expect backlash. But anyways, guys, that's my take on the whole J.J. Abrams admitting finally that Star Wars did not have a plan. But drop your comments down below. Let me know what you think about all of this. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. Bye.